Okay, go live. Hello everybody who is watching, listening, and a big hello to Lea Metz, a health coach and intuitive yoga teacher. And I'm gonna have the pleasure of talking to Lea again. So short about me, I'm Maria Hubmann. I'm an embodied creativity coach. And I'm curious about what Lea has to say about, we talked about habits in the previous interviews and how to form new habits. And we already touched upon planning and how preparation can help us a lot to avoid stress along the way. When you brought the example of when I want to go running the next day, that I better prepare my running shoes in the evening.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into preparing and planning, and also how to plan the dream week. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So hello, Lea, again.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here again. Interview number 4 out of 4. So today, I guess the juicy stuff is coming up now. Absolutely. What you just mentioned with the gym bag when you want to go for a run in the morning, preparing it in the evening, like having an evening ritual is much more powerful than having a morning ritual. And apart from that, even if you have a morning ritual, you can see in that example very well that a morning ritual also needs an evening ritual. You can have the most beautiful morning ritual. If you go to bed 2 hours before you have to wake up, it's probably not going to happen like you wanted, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So the evening is a crucial time.
So it's kind of like the evening prepares you for the next day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this comes back to this point, which we were already mentioning as well. If you take decisions in a current moment, it is much more likely that this decision you take is emotionally driven. Because in the moment, that comes down to our society being very pleasure driven, because we're used to having everything available at any given point, basically. So that comes down to this point that when we take decisions in a situation, our emotions are there with us at this moment in time. And so our decisions, because our emotions are very strong, are probably emotionally driven. And this is probably exactly what you don't want to have, because when it comes to, planning, getting the things done, you have to get done, you want to get done because you know they are good for you. And also your little pig dog sitting at the back of your mind, right? It's the perfect moment for the pig dog to show up when you're not prepared. So this is why we talk so much about preparation and planning. Just there are tools and techniques how you can support yourself and make your life so much easier. So this is why we want to share them today, because they are really easy and they are very useful and everyone can do it. So yeah, I'm very excited about that today.
Because when you talk about it in this way, that you can support yourself and you can make your life easier, for me that's a practice of self-love, that you take away unnecessary pressure from yourself, that you actively support yourself in whichever way supports you. And it's not just taking a bath or like stroking your skin and giving compliments to yourself, but also actually doing preparations and setting yourself up for a beautiful day and a smooth day.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you made a wonderful connection, a very beautiful connection there. It's true. Self-love is not, I don't know, the posts we see on social media, go early to bed, give yourself compliments, don't be patient with yourself. Yes, all that stuff is true too. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to what is it that you need, right, in order to be satisfied and peaceful in your inner, like this inner peace, everything comes from there, comes from your inner. So it is also a decision to take, I guess, you know, if you've never heard of that stuff, how should you be able to choose the right path for you? So it has a lot to do with knowledge as well. And I get it, you know, out there, Dr. Google, the fitness, the health jungle, like every like post you see on social media kind of tells you a little bit something different. There are big terms like mindfulness, like self-love, and everything is a little bit pulled apart, right? But at the end of the day, it's only you working with yourself. What do you need? What satisfies you? What makes you being the best version of yourself? This is a very, I think, good one to hang on to, because we all want to, you know, use our potential. We all want to find out what we are able to achieve in life and stuff like that. So, and also we wanna, I think, you know, everyone wants to be kind with their family, with their social environment, which might not be so easy, particularly with family sometimes, right? It's just a very intense and highly emotional situation, you know, with those people who are close to you. So all these things, you know, I like to think, what do I have to do to become the best version of myself? Because the best version of myself is serving myself, is serving my environment, and is serving my values. And when you're aligned with your values, this is, you know, where you can find peace, like truly inner peace. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels very grounded and centered in myself, that I don't need to look outwards for answers on what do I want in my life, where should I go, but it really comes from the inside, and then expresses through.
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, like that's things like where you are uncertain or unsure, or
Yeah.
should I do it? Should I not? Like all those things, you know, if you are clear in your mind and in your heart, you don't have those uncertainties. You know what you're going for, right?
Yes. And
And
know what you're saying no to.
exactly. Also a very, very good point. Like saying no is also something what is not so easy, right? But very important to protect ourselves as well and others, because when we don't protect ourselves, at the same time, we don't protect the people around us, because something is happening to us that makes us feel in a certain way, and that reflects on our environment again. So definitely. This is what I keep telling my friend who really struggles to say no. Listen, at the end of the day, you do a favor to all the other people around you if you say no in the right situations. Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make it easier for your friend?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it is, firstly, you know, hearing someone else verbalizing it has a big impact. I got to feel that just at the beginning of this week again. I had my very, very first shiatsu session, which was more than 1.5 hours long. It was planned to be an hour, but the shiatsu practitioner, Angelika, she said that she sensed so much on me and with me that she just kept going because she didn't want to stop in the middle. And we didn't even get the chance to talk after the session because we had our appointments afterwards, but we met for a coffee yesterday, and we talked about, you know, what she sensed. And there were a few things which I kind of knew, which I kind of feel already, which I kind of heard, you know, some things I already heard from different places. But just having, you know, another person again, or for the first time, verbalizing those things had such a great impact on me. Yeah, so definitely, you know, verbalizing things, hearing it from someone else helps you as well a lot to kind of process those things in a little different way. And sometimes we need different triggers in order to raise our attention. because our attention is pulled apart out there, particularly if you're living in a city. I don't know if you knew it, but there are roughly like 6,000 marketing ads average adult comes across living in a city a day. Only marketing. This is like nothing else, only all those promotions, right? So there's a lot to filter.
Yes.
And I think this is also a point why it is so difficult to kind of find inner peace and find focus for the things that really matter to you, because our attention is literally pulled apart. Yeah.
And we constantly have to decide, right? Is this relevant for me? Is it not relevant? And I think we in the first or second of both interviews, we talked about willpower and like that it takes attention and focus and also energy from us to focus ourselves and to make decisions, right? That's why preparation comes in so handy and is so valuable, because it reduces the amount of decisions that we have to make, especially towards the evening of a day when we have done a lot of decisions and like energy, that like bringing back our energy basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like rewinding kind of thing in the evening, because what you want to say, right, is that our normal energy throughout the day, you know, is in the morning we wake up, we want to bring the energy up, so we have it throughout the day, and then, you know, many things happen, probably our mind is a little bit overloaded, and then it is an active step to take to relax and unwind and to disconnect in the evening and not to take it too bad. And this is the major reason for insomnia, for example. People take their thoughts, their worries into bed, and they keep their mind busy, and therefore mind and body cannot relax and sleep. So yeah, you can see, like, those are really crucial things we talk about. The beautiful part is those crucial things that don't have to be difficult. They require attention. They require you to want it and to put attention into it. It just doesn't come, you know, by itself flying towards you and it's there. It's just not. I mean, honestly, it's with nothing in life like that, right? So you have to decide on what approach you want to take. And this is exactly where preparation comes in handy. Once you decided which approach you take, which, you know, way you choose to go, you start to prepare. So maybe firstly in your mind, you know, thinking, we're going to mention something which I like to call dream week. I actually have that from a very like big person in the fitness industry, Jonathan Goodman. And we're gonna create a little dream week later, but just to mention that first you can start to dream, right? So what is it like? Okay, you have the things you have to do, you want to do, so how could you structure your week that you get really excited when you see it in the planner? Dream, you know, create your perfect week. It is on you, on no one else. No one else is going to take charge for your life, for your happiness. And this is another thing to mention. Sorry, I don't want to sound very hard here. I'm like,
keep it coming.
You know, people wake up. No, that's another thing to mention. Now I lost the point.
It's on you.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That was good. We like to look to the outside when we don't feel well, or when we feel like we experience something unfair or whatever. We like to look to the outside and, you know, blame the rest of the world for it. What for? What for? So we can lay on the sofa and just be grumpy I mean, and this is really funny because I think no one would actually like rationally decide to be late grumpy around on the sofa and spend the evening like that. This is where the emotions come in during the situation, right? If you would have had a plan, you might not have ended up like that. But yeah, that's a very interesting fact as well. We tend to blame the entire world for things that don't work out in our life. And it is absolutely not serving us. It is an excuse. It is an excuse for us to take it easier in the current moment. But what it is doing is it makes your future much more difficult. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. And I have a very beautiful quote which I want to share with you, which is 1,000,000 years old from Seneca, one of our Stoics, isn't it? And he used to say that it's not little time that we have, it is just a lot of time that we don't use. And I want to, I want to start with a question maybe to get into the topic of planning preparation and yeah, into that direction. How much extra time would you have if you would skip the watching TV for hours in the evening and the scrolling around on your phone without a particular purpose?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it is at least an hour a day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more.
Yeah. For me, I don't watch TV usually, but like the scrolling I do. Yeah. And maybe it's even an hour a day, but it's hard to say, right? Because I do 5 minutes there and then 10 minutes there, and I want to do something on Facebook, and I'm like, get like.
Yeah, I mean, with you, it's a little bit of a different story, like for most people probably who are watching, because you use social media for business purposes.
Even then, I sometimes tell myself, oh, it's for business, when really...
when really you're just like...
What am I missing?
I see. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and when we, think about those times which you just mentioned, I mean, if you're really serious about the topic, right, you could track it one day. I want to say something to this 5 minute social media here, 5 minute social media there, that all pulls your attention apart as well. Particularly when you are doing something and you're like, I just quickly have a look what that was. It takes you incredibly long to get back to the point where you paused, because your brain first needs to process the information you just saw on social media. Then you need to get back into this mood, into the flow you've been before. Then you need to find, the exact point where you stopped. There are thoughts running. So you basically interrupted a thinking process and you have to find your way back. I think, don't nail me down for that, but I think science states that it is in between 15 and 30 minutes usually that you are actually on the point where you let things off. So I think that's incredible, because when you think, okay, once an hour, I just quickly have a look at social media, it's just 2 minutes. No, in reality, it's 32 minutes every hour. That's more than 50%. So I think when you break those things a bit down, you can start to feel this incredible impact, right, of you working with yourself. And again, no one else is going to do it for you. There's only you and you. Just remember that. And coming back to this, we have a lot of time, but we don't use it. This is only one example with that social media, right? Something I think everyone can implement is starting to make use of the ways you have to do. So let's say You have a normal 9 to 5 office job, and you know you have to get to work and stuff like that, like very corporate schedule. And at the same time, you want to implement some more activity in your lifestyle because you're sitting in front of the computer all day long, right? So make use of the ways you have to do. You have to get to work somehow. How do you get to work? You take the tube. Can you walk? Can you cycle? Can you, if it's too long, you know, fair enough. Maybe you have to take a tube and the bus. Okay, then maybe you just do one journey, like you take the tube and then you walk, you know, combining things, but, you know, getting a little bit of activity into your ways you have to do anyways is a great way to, you know, enhance your health and to save time. That's another example.
That's true. Just get a bit creative about
exactly. Get creative and get moving.
Yeah, and like kind of interweave activities and connect them in a new way.
Yeah, absolutely. And jumping a little bit, but coming back to the social media example, right? Or the TV example, I, you know, call it the couch potato syndrome. And, you know, I'm not talking from a point of view being perfect. I absolutely don't stand behind this point. Things have to be perfect. You have to be perfect. You absolutely don't have to. When you reach for perfection, you probably drive yourself insane. It's just by the way, what is perfection? Like, it's subjective. So
yeah.
Also very difficult to determine, to bring it down to one point. And you just really don't want to drive yourself crazy. You want to help yourself, right? And want to have, you know, a life full of well-being and happiness. So perfection is nothing that fits in such a life.
Yeah.
You know, to mention that. And to the couch potato syndrome, right? I know it. I have weeks, you know, particularly now, winter is coming, you know, I feel a little bit, the sun is going away. I absolutely don't appreciate that. So that's usually a time of the year where I have 1-2 weeks where I'm a little bit couch potato. And the couch potato syndrome is basically this routine when you finish your day kind of officially by the action of falling into the sofa and watching Netflix. Just like, okay, the day is officially over. I don't have to do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Just there and vegetating. Yeah. So I mean, we already mentioned that we are a pleasure-driven society, and we already mentioned that when you want to take a situation in the moment, your emotions are getting involved and probably are getting in your way. So it is a very, very powerful technique to organize your mind, make your mind up beforehand, make a plan and prepare for it in order to make sure you are on the path you want to be. And preparation, the beautiful thing about preparation, look, because all this talking, I get hot. Now you get to see my beautiful pajama t-shirt. I was just telling Maria earlier today, I only work from home, so I didn't get out of my pajamas yet. So yeah, the really beautiful thing about preparation is that it brings you clarity. Clarity means peace for the mind. And it saves you time and stress for the future. Exactly. And this is why we're going to have a look into the dream week now, if you're right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Before we start, do you have any other questions that popped up so far?
So we touched upon the how can I use my time? Let's say more consciously, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and not just like pretending that I don't have enough, but how can I use what I have so it serves me? And then you again stressed about the importance of preparation.
Yes.
And I'm very curious about the dream week, so please tell us.
All right. So as I said, the dream week absolutely starts with just dreaming into your week. Well, you have to do what you want to do. What would be, the perfect looking week? And I would suggest if you have things that really stick on one place in your schedule, like you have to work from 9 to 5, this is just, what your employer wants from you, and you have to pick up your kids from kindergarten, those really, really must do's, only those, okay? Stay with me. Put them first in the calendar, just so you know how your availability and time frame around it looks like. Right after that step, you're gonna get to your basic needs, the things you need in order to become the best version of yourself, in order to enhance well-being and be healthy. Because this is part of, becoming the best version of yourself. Without that, you're not going to reach that point. So those basic needs are sleep, nutrition, movement, and what your mind needs as well. So that goes into mindfulness, relaxation, meditation, intellectual input. It really, that's a little bit of a difficult one to pin down to one name, because it really depends on you and your mind and what you do throughout the day.
So it could be reading or going to the theater or meeting friends, something like that.
Can be as well, can be also the opposite. I try to give you an example to make it a little bit more, touchable. When you have a very physical job, which is not really challenging your mind, you might, end the day with your mind being underused, which is not satisfying. When you switch on the TV now, you prolong, the underusedness. And I don't know, maybe some brain cells are gonna get lost. No, I'm joking, sorry, a little bit sarcastic. In my pajamas today, I thought, Right, so if you are in kind of that situation that you not really train your mind, challenge your mind throughout the day, for you, it might be nice, to come home and read a book, exactly. Or come home and have, an interesting discussion about purpose or whatever with your partner, something that nourishes your mind.
Yes.
At the other hand, if you are someone who is mainly working with his mind, with his brain, then you might want to look for something to end the day which brings more calm into your mind, which lets you put those thoughts away until the next day comes and until you start working with them again.
So creating a balance, kind of.
Exactly, and this is why I'm saying it's really difficult to pinpoint one name. I think this is also a big reason for all the confusion out there, particularly in social media platforms. Mindfulness, meditation, I don't know, relaxation, and so on. Everything seems to be a little bit similar, but not, and everyone, puts it in different words. But just to point that out, like we said before, it always comes down you and yourself, the work you do with yourself, how far, how often you look inside, how you feel yourself, so depending on what you need, there should be a place in your week dedicated for your mind as well, for your body, for nutrition, and for sleep. Those are the 4 pillars.
So this goes on in every day. I mean, the sleeping and eating.
Yeah. So yeah, to sum that up, what was just mentioned so far about the dream week is, first, the absolute must-dos, put them in your calendar. Afterwards, sleep, nutrition, movement, and some place for your mind, for mindfulness. So whatever it is you need, you have to put it in your diary, in your week. And one very, very good tip to get all of that under one roof is to make it short. Less time but more regularly. Rather than having 1 or 2 hours a week blocked, have 15 minutes every day.
Mm-hmm.
It has loads of other benefits if you approach it that way. Firstly, it's not so stressful. Secondly, it makes this barrier much smaller, this barrier where your pig dog might jump in and say, what? 2 hours sports now? What, on Friday afternoon? I just finished, a very heavy working week. This is not going to happen, right?
It's not fun either, right?
Exactly, and it should be fun. There's no reason why it shouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes when we tick something off as a must do in our mind, it directly gets the character of not being fun. So in your mind, be careful how you use the word must. What do you really have to do in your life? I definitely have to breathe, otherwise, but what else? Like, we use that term way too easily for a million things. And that puts them into this, very strict and pressurous situation. And that's not fun, You want to move your body because it is good for you. It makes you feel good. Of course, you want to feel good, right? So yeah, back at the, everything goes hand in hand, back to that self-talk, to that self-love, to that attention towards yourself. So yeah, you see, when you keep it smaller, you make it much more realistic that those things are really happening because it's just way less pressurous. It makes it easier to stay focused in the moment as well, because it is one thing to say, okay, the next 15 minutes, everything out there, I don't care. It's my quality time, right? Versus the next 2 hours. I mean, try to, get your willpower through for the next 2 hours if you had a really heavy working day or something to, not think about it. So it really only has advantages to keep the time short and do it more regularly. Also, a very big advantage of that structure is that it's much more easier to get used to things. Getting used to things means to create habits. As more often as you repeat it, as stronger the connection in your brain becomes. So this is definitely one of the best tips I can give you if you, want to change your lifestyle to be a little bit more healthy, to enhance your well-being. If if you have it in your mind, I absolutely know I should move for my health and my well-being, but all those good thoughts are one thing. It's not happening in reality because there are kids, there are grocery, there are work commitments, there is the household, there is maybe the dog, the mom, who wants to have attention, and so on. There's quite a lot to deal with. Again, set your priorities, protect your bubble. Yeah, and
plan it.
Exactly, plan your week. First, dream into it. Put the really, really must-ins in there, and then start to crack on with your basic needs. And if you have that, you have kind of an anchor that keeps you, on the right path. And one tip I want to give you as well with the planning, particularly with sleeping and nutrition, with eating. It would be also good for movement and whatever it is you want to do for your mind, right? But particularly sleeping and eating, you should have a look that you do it every day at the same time. Simply down to that reason that nature is running on a clock, on a 24-hour clock, right? The sun is rising, is setting, the moon is rising, is setting. We are part of nature. We run on that clock as well. You can see it, you're awake throughout the day, you're sleeping at night, you wake up, your digestion starts to kick in, all those things. We run on a clock. And you want to adjust to that clock. Particularly now, I recognize that it's getting bright later in the mornings nowadays already. So, you know, winter is approaching. So for me personally, I sleep more in winter on a regular basis than I do in summer. I know that. So I plan for it, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So sleeping, have, you know, you go to bedtime, your evening routine can help you with that as well, to calm your mind down, also by preparing for the next day, because you don't have to think, oh, what do I have to do right after waking up tomorrow and stuff, right? And then wake up at the same time every day. You know, we're not talking about minutes or seconds here. If you have plus minus half an hour, that's also okay. But honestly, we go to bed usually at 10 p.m., sometimes at 10:30. I'm tired the next day. Or also that half an hour, you know, this the routine, the inner clock is a very, very strong influence. Yeah. And the same you definitely want to do with your nutrition. Definitely. Your nutrition is literally like your source of life and your source of energy. So when you wake up and you don't have breakfast and you have, I don't know, lunch at 2, but you know, since 8 a.m. in the morning, you work, you're sitting on the laptop like that, working, you make it really difficult for yourself because you didn't nurture your mind and body, your brain. Your brain didn't get food and you try to pull out, but it cannot only be, you know, taking, you have to give as well, you have to nurture. And the nutrition, the energy, like also from sleeping is what gives us energy, right? Like nutrition, those things should be really regular in order to, you know, allow yourself to have a good day, to have, you know, to not getting super sleepy at one point throughout the day, to not getting moody or any, you know, of those feelings, emotional, you know, feelings you get when you don't have enough sleep, you don't have enough food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, also for your nutrition, it's just a really big advantage. And your belly is your center. If like so much takes place in your belly. And this is why, you know, there's also the term hangry, angry from hungry. Yeah, well, because your belly is also your emotional center. It is your center for your immune system. There is so much about this belly, so many reasons why we should take proper care of it. And yeah, so long story short, to summarize it again, because I know it can be a lot getting this information, you know, like that. Dream week. Dream into your week. How could the perfect week look like? Your absolute must-dos, like work or picking up your kids from kindergarten, for example. Directly followed by your basic needs, sleep, nutrition, have a good routine, you know, have your times set for those things, because your energy level and therefore your emotional resilience depends on it. Regular movement, regular time to take for your mind. If it is in a relaxing manner, if it is more in a nurturing, you know, intellectual manner, depending on what you need, how your daily life looks like. And plan little time more regularly and have this anchor. Create this anchor for yourself. When you have this structure, it really, really works like an anchor. Like it makes you feel so much more strong, so much more emotionally resilient. It makes you just, you know, this step closer to the best version of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. You're taking care of yourself on multiple levels. And don't neglect any of them, and just put them apart. With like, okay, when I'm on vacation, I'll read the book, or do the sports or whatever, but to do it regularly, daily, and just in small portions that like keeps up the energy level, basically.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
absolutely.
So you would prepare the dream week every week, or do you say, okay, it's like 1 week and that's how all weeks look like?
That depends on your schedule. For me, it's not really possible to have one dream week set which works for the rest of the year because I'm self-employed. If I would have, a 9-to-5 job, it would be much more easy to have this dream week as an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that comes down to your needs really. Yeah, and your possibilities. But also the dream week is something, which can and should evolve with you. So this is supposed to be a support for you. So as soon as it starts to stress you, there is probably, I don't know, there's probably a little bit something wrong. Maybe you planned too much. Maybe you put too much pressure on yourself by really getting it through. Then you can look at your situation support again. Because when you set up your environment, then you shouldn't really feel that pressure after it's planned and prepared of getting the things done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely shouldn't be stressful. It should be a relief.
Yeah. So basically you're saying if it feels stressful, change something and play around. And
yeah, I would reverse again. Yeah. You can, go deep and have a look at your values, your priorities. Are you living your priorities? If you don't live your priorities, this is usually stressing a lot. For example, sometimes this is happening, like this is my personal story about the dream week actually. First time I did the dream week, I put in so much. It was physically impossible to do. But I like to challenge myself. Like I have high expectations of myself, let's put it that way. And the dream week definitely showed me that one more time, that I really have a little bit too high expectations maybe. So, if it's not working for you on the first go, there might be a really good reason for it, which is great for you to see and understand in order to open up, bigger areas in life, bigger blockages maybe. Yeah. But yeah, definitely, start small. Starting small is always good, because if we are starting fast, the road to failure is much shorter. That's a joke about it. No, but yeah, seriously. Yeah. Starting small is definitely a way in how you can support yourself. Yeah. Starting fast is a way how you can stress yourself. Yeah. And look, it's very good talking to you right now, for me as well, because now it's again like I start to feel it again, and it is so true, and I need to hear it sometimes. Otherwise I start to boom, 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 let's go. Yeah. Yes.
Right, that's why coaches are so awesome, because not only you hear yourself talking, but you also get feedback from the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I saw so far in my career is all those things we talked about, right? They are pretty simple in theory.
Yeah.
They are partly super difficult in practice.
Yes.
Well, why is that? A very big reason, as we said, can be that you're not sure, about your values, your priorities, the reason why you do things, so the fundament is missing. The second part can be, that the planning and preparation is missing. The third part can be that your environment is not set up in order to support you. Environment is not only, if the room is tidy, we talked a lot about that in detail in previous interviews, but also the people around you. So if I, want to make a major change in my daily routine or in my dream week, I have to talk to my partner because it probably affects him.
Yes.
So he needs to be prepared as well in order to support me in the situation. So yeah, those are the three big fields you want to look at. If you really want to get closer to, let's stick to the term, the best version of yourself. That's my term today. Yeah.
So thank you so much. We covered a lot today, and a big portion was dedicated to planning your dream week. So thanks again for that. And like especially keeping in mind that keep the units short, but regular.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I take away from that.
Yeah, that's definitely the best takeaway you can have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to add to like the whole interview series that we did?
Well, I mean, I want to say thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun and a real pleasure. I mean, people out there, who listened, if you feel like that you want to start from scratch and build these fundamentals, really like getting asked those really important questions about your priority, about your mindset, the reason why you do things you do, then I want to offer you to check out my workbook, my mini workshop. I will post the link in the comments of this video. It is basically for building this fundament we were talking about. Not only, I give some information as well about, deeper stuff in that topics, but it is loads of questions.
Awesome.
I can't tell every individual the right answers, but I can ask the right questions. So if you want to dig deeper and start to build a strong fundament, I'm really happy to offer you that. And apart from that, exactly, this is what we were saying before when you were saying about coaches, right? Folks, there's always the possibility, if you feel alone and you feel like you are struggling, there are people out there like Maria and like me who made it their profession to give you a hand. So, don't get frustrated. Before you get frustrated, check out all the options available out there.
Yes.
Support yourself.
And you did mention the support and also like situation support, but also like emotional support and social support. And it's real. Life is much easier. Life is real. Yes.
Yeah, oh, so true.
Get support. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Reach out.
See. Well, Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lea. It was a pleasure for talking to you. And anyway, you stay in the group if there is any more questions, or we just like have discussions about
yeah.
these.
I stick around, and don't be shy. People are often so shy to post, right? But before, you don't post your question because you're a bit shy, pop a direct message if you feel more comfortable with it. But yeah, as Maria said, let's start having this conversation because this is the starting point for everything else.
Yeah.
See?
Awesome. Thank you, Lea, for the whole interview. And also you interviewed me for your group, right? Yeah. It was in German. I talked about female sexuality and pleasure and tantric sex and all the things.
And how that connects to well-being.
Yes, and how it connects to well-being and health.
That was beautiful.
So if anybody's interested in hearing that, I did 4 interviews with Lea in her group Alltagsheldinnen. You can also post it below the link.
Absolutely, would love to do that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself, love yourself.
Yes.
live that awesome life.
Yes. Thanks again for the reminder, and let's do that.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Ciao, everybody. Ciao, Maria.